Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and I am delighted to have you here. Let's talk about something that I've been thinking about for quite a long time, and it is not that I am discovering something super new, but maybe it's time for us to remind ourselves of this. Let's talk about why monotheistic religions are systems of control. Monotheistic religions like Christianity, Islam, Judaism are often seen as a noble path to morality, salvation, and divine truth. But if we really look beneath the surface, we see something else. Systems built not to liberate, but to govern. Not to awaken the soul, but to discipline the masses. They were not born purely out of mystical insight or spiritual elevation. They were born out of political necessity, cultural dominance, and psychological control. One God, one authority. Monotheism begins with a single absolute idea. There is only one true God, and He alone must be worshipped. On the surface, this seems like a unifying principle, but in practice, it creates a dangerous concentration of spiritual power that later gets exploited in the process. Let's think about this. One God means one path, one truth, one priesthood, and ultimately one centralized authority. This eliminates a lot of things like diversity of thought, spiritual exploration, and the freedom to find our own way. Instead of living breathing relationship with the divine, a personal one, and perpetual spiritual evolution, monotheism often offers a rigid hierarchy that mirrors political empires. To disobey the church or the mosque becomes equivalent to disobeying God himself. That is not spirituality. That's the perfect control mechanism of centralized power authority. This system does not allow you to think for yourself, but to follow whatever the person on top says. In these systems, the individual is stripped of inner individuality. You are taught that you are broken, sinful, unworthy, that you need a savior, a prophet, or a book, something outside of yourself to make you whole. Human is believed to have no power but to submit and wait for the final judgment. Human is seen no better than a slave, or how popularly they like to call us, their flock. This is where the control deepens, because once you believe that the divine lies outside of you, you become dependent. Dependent on doctrines, dependent on clergy, dependent on approval, dependent on being absolved of so-called sin. True spirituality tells you that the divine spark is within you, that you are not separate from God, but a living expression of it. Monotheistic dogma, however, places that divinity behind the wheel of obedience, guilt, and fear. In every polytheistic religion, human is able to almost achieve the divinity himself. But in monotheistic religions, this is not even a remote option. Monotheistic religions have one favorite instrument: fear, eternal hell, divine psychological weapons, punishment, judgment day. These are not spiritual truths, and they become deeply embedded in our psyche. From childhood, people are taught to fear what they can't see, fear what they might think, fear their own desires. When you're afraid of burning forever for disobedience, you'll conform, even against your own soul. Masturbation and pleasure are a sin, and for a good reason. Sexual energy is your life force. What a better way to suppress it than by guilt and shame? Fear bypasses reason, it overrides intuition, and it creates the perfect subject, obedient, anxious, and grateful for every crumb of salvation. What religion also hates is women. This is another tool of control in monotheistic system. the suppression of the feminine. These religions are overwhelmingly patriarchal. They erase goddess. They demonize female sexuality. They reduce the feminine to virgin mothers or silent wives. There is no celebration of the sacred feminine force, only suspicion. And without the feminine, there can be no balance, no wholeness. The body becomes shameful. Desire becomes dangerous. Intuition becomes heresy. This is not just misogyny. This is spiritual mutilation. Women are burned on the stake or stoned in these religions. Throughout history, mystics have risen from these traditions, such as Gnostics and Sufis. And what happened to them? They were burned, exiled, erased. Why? Because they didn't teach obedience. They taught union with God. They didn't need institutions. They offered direct experience, and that made them enemies of the system. Many of us forgot what true spirituality looks like. True spirituality doesn't demand fear. It invites wonder. It doesn't shame the body. It honors it. It doesn't require you to obey. It teaches you to awaken. In Eastern paths like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Taoism, we find systems aimed at liberation. These are paths filled with tools: meditation, breathwork, self-inquiry, energy work. They train you to access the divine directly, to transform yourself, not just to believe. You strive to become God itself, or rather, to make divinity inside of you grow. Monotheism often offers a promise of paradise, but only if you surrender your inner power. True spirituality returns that power to you. It teaches that heaven is not a place you're sent to. It is a state you awaken within. We are living in a time where more people than ever are seeing through the old veils. They are leaving organized religion, not out of rebellion, but because they crave something real. They want the divine, not the doctrine. They want transformation, not judgment. They want truth, not control. Unfortunately, we have a large quantity of people going back to monotheistic religions because they are lacking answers. I think this is not good for humanity, as it will eventually take us back to Dark Age. We need to bring back the true spirituality, the one that looks for divinity inside of ourselves, not outside. Christianity we have nowadays, this watered down version of it, it is not the religion Christianity is. It is only looking this because it does not have power anymore. If we give it back its power, it will become radical again. Humanity does not need religion. It needs its true spirituality back. And once you realize that the divine has always lived within you, no system can ever get you back and down again. No system can ever own you again. You do not need permission to awaken. Your sexuality is not dirty. You don't need saving. You are not broken. You are an individual soul remembering itself, striving to become a better version of yourself each and every day. A possible God as well. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please remember to subscribe and like the video, and please drop me a comment. Thank you so much, and I love you all.